Alright, shalom. All praise to Yahweh by Shemi Awashai. Double honors to GMS, much honors to the planet. It's pushing this truth without faith. Alright, so let's get into this report. The rhetoric is heating up with this serious situation because we're getting close. Alright, so let's get into this video.
How military action could impact the region. Let's bring in two of our key correspondents. In Tel Aviv, Atia Abawi, and in Tehran, Ali Arouzi. Atia, first to you. What are Israelis doing? I understand that they are lining up and getting gas masks.
That's right, Andrea. Israeli civilians have been lining up at 8 different distribution centers. The government issues out gas masks every day, really, for the Israeli citizens to pick up. But in the last couple of days, we've seen an onslaught, thousands of Israelis fighting their way through the lines, literally standing in line from 4 to 12 hours. Some gas masks were actually stolen. Many civilians upset because they couldn't get the gas masks themselves. But as for the government officials here, they say that they don't feel as though they will be attacked by Syria because of Syria's diminished capabilities to attack Israel or any other country for that matter, because they've been using their capabilities within their own civil war. That being said, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did address Israeli citizens on television by saying that if we identify any attempt to attack us, we will respond, and we will respond forcefully. That being said, they have called on about 1,000 reservists to come to duty. They're going primarily up north in Israel, where that border with Syria is. They've also placed an additional Iron Dome to the north, addition to the already one that they've had. One's in Haifa, one's near Tiberias. So they are prepared should anything occur, but officials here believe that they won't be attacked, but they're not taking any chances. Andrea?
Thank you, Atia Abawi in Tel Aviv and Ali Arouzi in Iran, in Tehran. Ali, what is the new president, President Rouhani, doing? I know that he's tweeted that he had talked to Vladimir Putin, last night.
That's right, yeah, and the state TV also reported that he had an extensive conversation with Vladimir Putin last night, and that the two were going to do everything they could to prevent a military strike by the United States on Syria, which President Rouhani said would have grave consequences for the region. He also said that an attack on Syria would not be legal. He also recognized the use of chemical weapons, but he cast a certain dispersion, saying that we're not sure who's used them and early judgment could be very dangerous. So he's being very cautious as well on his rhetoric. But the most fiery rhetoric that we've had out of Iran was from the commander of the very powerful Revolutionary Guard, saying that if America attacked Syria, this would be a second Vietnam for them, and that this would spell the end of the Israeli state if there was an attack on Syria. So the head of the Revolutionary Guard isn't holding back on any punches. Probably the most fiery rhetoric we've seen so far over the Syria issue over the past 2 years, coming from Iran's top commander. The supreme leader even weighed in last night, saying that an attack on Syria...
This is the book of Joel 3 verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." Okay? Because Iran is a weak nation compared to America, alright? They might have some military, but compared to America's weaponry, it ain't nothing, man. Don't let them fool you. Only reason they talking like that is Russia's got their back, man. Alright.
Syria would be a disaster, and it would have grave consequences for America. So Iran is obviously very nervous about an attack on its very close ally, the Syrians, and are doing everything they can to prevent this from happening. Whether they can stop it from happening is another point. Andrea?
Ali Arouzi in Tehran, thank you very much.
On the broadcast tonight, making the case for a strike in Syria. Late word of what the White House is telling Congress. And tonight, a report from inside Damascus, where they are bracing for an attack. Good evening, I'm Lester Holt in for Brian. The U.S. tonight appears to have just lost a key ally as it tries to build consensus for a punishing military attack on Syria. There's late word from London that Britain's parliament has voted tonight against supporting an attack. But even as efforts towards an international consensus unravel, the White House is still pressing its case here at home for a military strike. In a conference call this evening, members of the president's national security team are briefing congressional leaders on what the White House believes was the Syrian government's role in a deadly nerve gas attack, and also laying out the parameters for a U.S. military response with or without international partners. We have reports from Washington as well as inside Damascus tonight. Andrea Mitchell starts us off from Washington. Andrea, good evening.
Good evening, Lester. Tonight, the president is losing momentum for quick action against Syria and facing the very real prospect that if he does act within days, he may be doing it alone. Something the White House said today it is willing to do. UN inspectors were still collecting evidence today of last week's attack and now plan to leave Syria Saturday. Their mandate is only whether a chemical attack took place, not who did it. British jets landed in Cyprus, poised to take part in an American-led strike. The British government said today an intervention would be legal on humanitarian grounds. But the jets are grounded for now. That's because the public is deeply opposed. And today the Prime Minister's own party rebelled against using force. Looming over today's debate, the Iraq intelligence failures a decade ago.
The well of public opinion was well and truly poisoned by the Iraq episode, and we need to understand the public skepticism.
We must consider, given where we've been before in this House, that our intelligence understandings might just be wrong, because it was before.
Today, the British government's intelligence assessment said it is highly likely that the regime was responsible for the chemical attack, but no smoking gun. And tonight, the government
right now, man. Right now, these people are confused, man. Oh, you see that rod of iron right there? Look, or that rod of gold? I done seen that. But these people are confused, man. America's allies are turning against them. There's just confusion, man. There's no kind of order going on, man. They don't know whether to strike, whether to not, if they're together, they're not. They don't know, man. And that's beautiful. But that's part of them curses,
The
man.
nose to the left, 285.
The White House is also on the defensive. Members of both parties say it has a legal obligation to provide more classified intelligence to Congress than tonight's telephone briefing.
I think it's very important, I think both for legal reasons and for doing the right thing by getting buy-in from the Congress, that the administration come up, talk to a broader a set of members, to get buy-in to the program.
Today, Syria's President Assad appeared on state TV saying Syria will defend itself in the face of any aggression, and Russia said it's moving warships to the Mediterranean. Again today, Russia said it would block any UN vote approving the use of force. Some experts say the president still needs to explain the mission.
I think the notion that you can simply launch a few Tomahawk missiles, even a couple of hundred, and then walk away and say we've made our point, I don't think that's realistic. I think it sets in motion other dynamics with the Russian support for Syria, with Iran's support for Syria, with Hezbollah support, etc.
Critics say the president has still not explained his rationale beyond wanting to punish Syria for using chemicals and deter the regime from doing it again. The critics say he has yet to provide the legal rationale for military action. Lester?
All right, Andrea, as we mentioned at the top of the program, the White House tonight is briefing top members of Congress about how it will justify a strike on the Assad regime. Our chief White House correspondent, Chuck Todd, joins us now with the latest on that. Chuck, what are you hearing?
Well, I can tell you this, Lester. The White House has spent almost all day today trying to calm down jittery members of Congress. The president personally himself called Speaker John Boehner and Republican leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. Tonight, about 20 key members of Congress are getting briefed on all aspects of the situation by the president's closest advisors, including Susan Rice, Secretaries Kerry and Hagel, the Director of National Intelligence, and the Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs. What the White House hopes the briefing tonight will do will ratchet back the congressional public skepticism about the president's military plans. The White House believes the case against Assad is clear-cut, and here's why. NBC News has learned one of the key pieces of evidence that the U.S. has to prove Assad's regime was behind the chemical attack is an intercepted communication that says Assad's brother, a commander of the Syrian Republican Guard, personally ordered the attack. That's why Lester, the president, is so confident about where he stands on this.
All right, Chuck Todd, thanks. Let's get the read from Syria on all this. In and around the city of Damascus, the people who live there faced with the decision of whether to leave or hunker down ahead of any possible strike on any number of potential targets by the U.S.
All right, with that, let's get to this next video. So this thing is gearing up.
Well, that Syria uprising and crisis can be traced back to February of 2011, and perhaps you remember this. 15 teenagers were inspired by the uprisings in Tunisia and also in Egypt, and at the time they wrote anti-regime graffiti on the walls of a small town in southern Syria. They were arrested and then they were thrown in prison. Now, about a month later, Syrian troops reportedly fired onto a peaceful demonstration over the teenagers' arrests, and at that time, several people were killed. By August then of 2012, 1 year ago, President Obama, of course, said that the Syrian regime's use of chemical weapons would be a red line, something we have heard.
This is Jeremiah 51 and 7. It says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balms for her. Pain. If so, she may be healed. Jump to verse 11. It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes, for his devices is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple.